for high techers sometimes.
Super, definitely. I just realized that I can have all of us up on the screen at one time.
All right. And we are officially live. I'm going to take this link.
I just realized that I can have all of us up on the screen at one time.
Oh, can you hear that? Let me mute that.
Yeah.
And we are, boom. I'm going to mute them because they're talking. And so I'm going to go ahead and share this link for whoever is watching early, which I'm sure is no one because no one knows it's up yet until I post it. But for those who are rewatching this, thank you for tuning in to Be Married. We have a great show for y'all. I'm just sharing this link so everybody knows. Live show now. Boom, boom, boom. And let's see, I'm going to also, so it's on my Facebook. If you all can see it, post it twice. I'm also going to post it in the group and then we'll get this ball rolling. Come on, group. There we go. Married. And we are open. All right. And in the chat. So it is up. Thank you for everybody or everyone who was tuning in. My name is Elohim.
I'm Zakia.
And this is Be Married TV. Zakia is the showrunner, and she is going to take it away from here.
Hey guys, we are officially on our first podcast of Be Married. I'm glad that Lance and Monica were able to join us today. I think today we have a really good topic, but before we get into the topic, I want to just have everybody introduce themselves. I'm Zakia. I mean, I don't really know much to say. I'm the feminine side of Be Married. I'm a mom, an entrepreneur, and I don't know, I'm just happy to be here today. I guess somebody else can go ahead and introduce themselves.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. I guess continue with the feminine side. So I am Monica Felder. So my other half is Lance, but I'm not a mom of a human. I am a mom of a dog. So I'm a dog mom. I'm entrepreneur as well. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit about me too. And we currently live in North Carolina, originally from Jersey. So
hey.
Okay.
I'll go. So yeah, I'm Lance, the other Felder, if you want to call me Big Felder. Let's see, entrepreneur, biotech engineer, do that during the day. I ain't gonna say I'm a minister, but I do speak to the people, try to add value as much as I can. I read a lot, a little bit of a geek when it comes to finances, business, politics. I try to stay as knowledgeable as possible. So that's kind of a little snippet of myself.
And I go by Little Felder too. That's a little plug. So Little Felder.
Where before we get started, do you mind telling us a bit more about your business? Just telling everyone.
So basically what we do is teach people how to build a successful Amway business. We've got connected 4 years ago to a group of individuals who left their jobs in their 20s and 30s. And they really taught us not just to build a successful asset, but also learn how to be successful in all aspects of life, emotional, spiritual, relational,
physical,
financial. So that we can be financial success. So, because of that connection, we'll be walking away from our jobs the next 12 months and actually be able to, add value to people, full time, because my great grandmother, 100 years of wisdom, taught me that, it's better to serve rather than just to live a normal life. So, that's a little bit of, I guess, our business, and it's all digital now, gig economy, whatever you want to call it. So that's what we've been building for the past 4. This is year 5. So
going on 5 years. Yeah.
5th year contract. Shout out to the athletes. So
That's what's up. And okay, and him, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, of course. My name is Elohim Ali. It is very nice to see everybody here today. And in regards to introducing myself, I and my wife are dog breeders. We're online marketers. We're authors. And we like to help people and change the world. And we also want to pretty much Be Married is pretty much just made to give people the perspective of just married people, right? Especially Black married people, which you don't hear from too often, though there are a lot out there, people. You know, so, and also just to kind of give just advice to the next generation after me. One thing I always felt like, you know, it's like when me and Zakia were growing and just learning more about each other, I just felt like we could have been told more things about marriage. And I feel like more things could be told to the next generation about marriage. And I also fully believe, especially coming through college and watching people and seeing what happened in college and high school with people, I feel like if you can teach people what is marriage, then I feel like they may act a different way in college, and I'll leave it at that. And so that's in a nutshell what Be Married is about. Back to you, Zakia.
Okay, yeah, so pretty much today's topic is we're going to be talking about breadwinners and providers. I guess pretty much like the same thing, but yeah, so we're just going to get right into it. He's going to pull up a few different clips that we found on the internet, just so, you know, we can just talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead and, you know, you got that.
All right. So we're going to share all of these videos. So just watch them closely. And then we're going to talk about these videos. So the first round is pretty silly.
Okay.
We're going to talk about these videos.
Yeah, some you might have to read.
A man with money only impresses lazy girls. When a woman works hard, a man with money is just a bonus. And then the next video. That.
I can pay my bills, I can pay my own damn bills. I'm independent for real, no Netflix and chill. I don't need no food, so there's no me and you.
All right. And then we have this one right here. Me on the way to make some money so I never have to rely on the male species. And then last but not least, I was raised to hustle like a man because I was told to never depend on one. All right.
Okay. So about the first one, that you know, guys with money only, you know, bring in lazy girls. I wanted to see what you guys thought about that. So Monica, give me your take on that.
So I think, I mean, I don't know how far you want to go actually into our own story, but
Oh yeah, we can go.
but
We're here for it. So
right. I mean, it's actually aligns really well with the topic for tonight. But I would say I don't believe that per se. It depends. I feel like it depends on the woman and depends on how they value themselves from that standpoint. So, you know, if a man is making money, personally, in my opinion, I feel like the woman should be doing it too in some capacity, like bringing something of value to the table. May not be like monetary, but just like how you are, it's like, hey, you're a mother, you know, that's value. You're doing more than I'm sure he can do in some aspects because we're physically made differently, you know, that you can provide certain things. So I think that that's a different piece of that. But, you know, just thinking about a rich man brings lazy women. I mean, that's a tough one to swallow. I don't know. I take that to the heart a little bit personally. But I don't know if Lance wants to talk a little bit more specifically how that can go.
Oh man, we can go many different ways with this one.
Goes in our story.
Yeah, because I mean when we met, You know, talking about we met at school or Facebook? When I slid in the DMs.
I
You want to start
mean,
from that point?
Nah.
I mean, okay, so we can start from the top for the DMs just to make it short. But
yeah.
when we met back in June of what was it, 20? My great
2016.
grandmother. I can't remember my grandmother. But yeah, so I didn't really have money. I mean, I was still in school, senior year of school. So, you know, what happened to me was that my mom's neighbor house had a fire. So I'm from Brooklyn originally. So, you know, everything, all houses is connected. My neighbor wound up having a fire, and then somebody else told me, because my mom is more of the independent type. She's like, I'm gonna take the cuts while my son is doing what he's supposed to be doing. And it was funny because she asked me, and the one thing you never want to do is say, never, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. So long story short, in November, well, August, she asked me, think about moving in. I'm like, and then December 11th, I wound up moving in with her 10th or whatever, and her roommates. So, I didn't have a job. I didn't really have anything, but I just had a dream. My goal was to play in the league. So, I wound up playing in the HBCU Bowl in front of a couple scouts. So I had some things. Some people talk like, "Oh, I'm going to do this." No, I actually had some stuff lined up, but what happened after that? So it really wasn't working.
I mean, just long story short, it's just
she was
the rich man doesn't have to necessarily mean that is going to bring in lazy women. I think vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, you have a lot to offer, but it's not always monetarily. So, right. She paid the bills, but she was already paying the bills. I just was a fly on the wall, unexpected guest, but. I wound up working at the YMCA until we actually moved to my cousin's house, and we were basically figuring it out. So I think when you're actually going through the struggle together, it makes you stronger together rather than you already made your money, just like what what's that song Drake? You wasn't with me shooting in the gym, or was that Rick Ross? One of them. Right. But that mentality comes to where now you may bring in the gold diggers, or you may have, it's in Proverbs, talks about if you have riches, you will have a lot of friends, but you may not have the right friends. Because when you broke, you don't have no friends. So, I think it's what unfortunately what mom are teaching their daughters. I don't know if people listen to Kevin Samuels, but he kind of talks about how a lot of the next generation of women are in an interesting place because they have this "I don't need another man" mentality, and they don't realize it until they're like 40, and they're still attractive, but they're not probably as efficient on giving birth, or having kids. I don't know if their body meant to take it, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, let her go to the next video. Look at you jumping shit.
No, I was just saying, but that was just a long story short that, two people figuring it out together will make them strong rather than, you with me for money. So why y'all together, for other reasons.
Yeah.
Right. I guess one thing I've been thinking about is, can you be lazy and be with a breadwinner? I mean, I just think about like all the women that are just regular women, but they're with like these celebrity guys. And it's like, well, you kind of have to put in work to be with this, high status guy or whatever, just because you have to keep up, the way you look, or just, make sure when he comes home it's some kind of peaceful environment. So, I mean, can you really be lazy and be with, a breadwinner?
Yeah. I mean, your ambition level, that's what I think about.
Breadwinner as a man.
Yeah, we're talking about men to.
Oh, okay. So if you
just either or. I mean.
Oh, okay. Because if you're talking about the breadwinner of a man, I remember I heard this. Because the average Black male's income is $42,000 a year. So if you're talking about now just Black men, the ones who actually make over six figures, it's a small percentage. And referencing Kevin Samuels again, he said a man who makes that type of money and has that type of value, has more options. Whether if he choose not to actually accept those options, that's his choice. But because there's not a lot of those individuals, that person will be a number one draft pick to a lot of females who want to be either don't want to work or stay at home mom or stuff like that. So it does put a lot of pressure. Well, I can't speak for women, but a lot of pressure because besides what's between the what else is there to offer, so so I'm gonna just leave it.
Right. Yeah, so Hima, I wanted to see your take on, what we've said in the video that we watched.
I mean, there were some interesting perspectives. I mean, my thing is the question of like lazy. I think that a lot of like young spoiled girls have that image in their mind. Like, I'm gonna get with like a guy that's already rich, and I'm not gonna have to do anything. And it's almost the perspective that people have on stay-at-home moms, right? Or even women who want to be stay-at-home moms. Some women are like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom because I don't gotta do nothing. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know if you know what a stay-at-home mom is, or I don't know if you know what a lot of these men want who are making like Lance was saying, X amount of dollars. And it's like they want certain things. And they're going to expect you to do certain things. And if you're not, because they are such a small percentage of men, they could just be like, all right, I don't want you. And find somebody who will go ahead and do that. And so I don't know if lazy, I think it's a stereotype, and I think it's a way to put women down who have men and who are like, I always say there's like an envy right now and amongst women when it comes to like women who have like men who do make more. It's like it's a lot of envy in that, and they'll try to discourage it, and they'll either say a stay-at-home mom is oppressed, or they'll try to make sure like she's a slave, or if they don't do that, they'll try to make it seem like she's dumb. Like, oh, she must be uneducated or something. She must not be intelligent. That's why, right? So when secretly, and I went through this at my old job, secretly, those same women who will talk trash about a woman's being a stay-at-home mom will then say later, dang, I wish I could do that. Shoot, I don't want to, Yeah. So I think there's a lot of envy, Yeah.
Yeah. I think people kind of just have to decide what they want to do. I guess maybe some people are kind of forced into being the independent woman, but I guess I don't know. Do y'all feel like people are forced into being the independent woman?
Well, I was going to say something just for you hot, but it is kind of, it's just kind of, I guess, based off of how you were raised maybe. So like, I didn't get to mention this before, but I do have a background in mental health therapy. I practiced for a little while. And so my theory that I fell on was experiential therapy, which is really focusing on like how your development through childhood leading up into adulthood kind of match in some shape or form based off of traumas and things like that. And I think about, that piece that you said that is it something that like we're kind of told, like women, are we shown how to be independent, or do we fall like into that naturally? And I think like that's kind of where I grew up. So, just going, my personal experience was I'm a daddy's girl through and through, hands down, like no question about it. And so, my dad raised me, and I had my grandfather in my life too, but raised me to never take money from a man. I remember that like clear as day. And then my mom really leaning on the idea that you can fend for yourself and be independent because you don't want to have to rely on anybody. And she grew up where, her mom passed away at the age of 45. So my mom was only 13. So she had to grow up very early on, very similar to Lance's experience too, which I'm sure you'll probably talk a little bit about, but, she had to grow up faster. So that independence was already built into her, that it led into her adulthood, and that's all she knew. And I remember having to really, when I was going through my master's program, having to really take a step back and apologize for me having this resentment towards her because of that lack of emotion and, not really being involved in stuff as I'd want her, would wanted her to be as growing up. So it's just like, it's kind of like, do you fall into that because of your own personal experiences based off of generations beforehand? And then what has been taught to them is just led into what you see now. And now how are you going to raise your children? Because a lot of these things are built into our subconscious. And so it's up to us to have to reprogram ourselves. But I kind of agree with what you said. I think it kind of falls into some women's laps where it's just natural for them to have that sense of independency.
I mean, yeah. And even though we're saying this to women, a lot of the blame is just on the men is the women. I mean, men are not taking care of responsibilities. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. So it's not all just on the women's side, it's responsibility of the man. Are they making enough money so that their woman is taken care of? If she wants to be the caregiver, the nurturer, to actually play that role, but if she has to work, then you're doing multiple jobs to where it's kind
Somewhere's
of
going to lack.
why I think women have a higher chance of getting Alzheimer's or dementia because of the multitasking. And also too, now this is political too. Why? Because in the 1968, when LBJ passed the was it the Great Society Act, or I think it was that act where welfare came in, and then women had to choose between
look at him like, oh, wait a minute.
That's it right there.
Either the man, you can make it $10 an hour. I'm just using math. $10 an hour, or you can have an extra $5 based off the government. When you have food, Section 8 housing, because I had multiple generations of people who were married. Their husband either died or they divorced and they never got remarried. So, I mean, if, you have a woman who has, either herself or a child or two, and like, okay, do I want, such and such to take care of me and I'm only bringing this much? Or do I want to, depend on Uncle Sam and I'm going to get these stamps, the 1st and the 15th. And then you got to worry about, a person in a suit or a social worker coming in your house, checking if there's somebody in the house, because that was kind of my experience. So, it's, on us for, my dad, ran away, I'll call it straight. I'm a bastard child. I mean, it is what it is, but, the effects of it, and also my, my cousins and the decisions they make is more feminine. Why? Because we only were raised by, it was 3 generations of women. So, from 1915 to when my great grandmother was born to my great aunt in 66, 67, and then my mom's 58. So, that's what we had. So it's not a one individual, one party to blame. It's all 3 parts.
What?
Well,
oh my goodness, y'all should hear him. Like, this is new stuff to me right now. Okay. That blame game be serious, boy. Let me tell you.
I mean, same thing with Eve. I mean, the devil learns how to use the woman. Why? Because emotions. I was talking to a gentleman today about narcissistic. Some I'm not gonna say all, but some women are very narcissistic. They can use their body, they can use the goodies, to actually get into certain doors and stuff. I mean, that's just I'm just saying it in a nice way, but it's literally true. I mean, it's not all, it's some. So
it's funny because that you bring up Genesis, because we're reading. We like to read different scripture texts. Right now I'm going back. Zakia has read the Quran before. I'm going back to read a lot of different scriptures that I was reading in college. I don't think I was mature enough to really think about a lot of those in a certain way. I was mature enough to go, oh, this is what I think about it, but not mature enough to really go deep into some of the things that it's saying. And it's funny when you read Genesis, which is actually my favorite book. in the world, right? I really enjoyed Genesis, mainly for the first few stories. But if you also look at other spiritual scriptures and you look into other religions and also different myths around the world, I'll bring them up to say that the woman often embodies a certain person. And the person that she embodies, no matter where you go on the globe, is someone of great potential. And also, and that potential is of creation, but also of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And I think when you look into the story of Adam and Eve, there's a lot you can take from it. I mean, you read it and you're going to learn something from it every time. But one of those things is, I used to think that they were demonizing women. So the first time I read Genesis, I was very angry at it. And I was like, Dad, they just demonizing women. Like, they act like woman is the partner of the devil. That's what I took from it, right?
Right.
And upon rereading it, actually, there was a lot to that. There was the blame game being played, going back to what Lance was saying about men. It actually normally falls on the man first, because if Eve was talking to the snake and Adam is her man, where was Adam is the first question. But then when God comes, if you notice, Adam not only blames Eve, but if you read it correctly, he kind of blames God. Now, just go back and read it. He says, the woman that you gave me,
Yeah.
right? The woman you gave me told me to eat, so I ate. Like, right? And so it's this thing when the man, right, and it tells you a lot about the man, because Adam is supposed to represent mankind. And so it tells you when the man does not take the correct responsibilities, right, what happens. Because not only does Eve manifest, right, into this force of chaos that gets them kind of pushed out of the garden, but also her seed is now changed. Because everybody forgets that part where God's how to split thy seed, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they have twins. You got Cain and Abel. And Cain is just right. So it's a trickle down effect. When a man doesn't take the position he's supposed to take in a household, it trickles all the way down to the children. And then you have the children who are fighting each other because of what happened in their parents' past. And that goes back to, right, the sins of the father. But I also say it's also the sins of the mother, right? And it will go on and on and on for many, many, many generations. And so though I'm not one, I'm just going to give y'all tell y'all now, I'm not one to take scripture literally. I like to read it, and I like to get deep, profound messages from it. And that generational curse thing, that's another thing. I'm like, mankind is cursed from Adam and Eve, but I didn't understand what it was really saying, which was, no matter how long ago it goes back, if you don't correct these failures, that's what all sin means, these failures, it's going to keep coming up generation and generation and generation forever. And so it's deep that, Lance was telling me about just now about his father, and now you see him corrected, right? And that's the difference maker. I feel like Black people need to really start understanding. Just people in general in America need to start understanding, like, it's up to you to correct these. Nobody's going to correct these mistakes for you. And so,
we do need to get back on topic.
all right.
But I think it is important to say, though, that, we're all adults now. People say, my parents did this, and this, but, you're conscious enough to make a decision to do something different now. And on that note, we're going to get back. The second video, the girl was dancing around, pretty much saying she didn't need a man. And I just wanted to see what you guys think about that, because, women are always complaining about, no man wants me, but then, now they're so independent. They're saying no Netflix and chill. Like, I'm good. I don't need a boo. Like, what do y'all think about that? Lance, let me hear from you first.
Well, I'm going I was those ladies first.
No, go ahead.
Okay, it's me first. Okay. I mean, if she could beat a man up, then she ain't gonna need no man. I mean, physically, it's physically impossible. I mean, if you've seen the young lady who caught her first pass, you're gonna see what happened when you allow girls into male sports. I mean,
women.
Well, she was a girl and it was a boy, so same thing. I mean, that's why, my mom, she's down here,
Mhm.
I don't treat her like a child, but because she's still new to a new area, I have to teach her independence. So, but that's also too, I said, if you want to make the playing field even, use your Second Amendment rights. I mean, we go shooting, we practice as much as we can. We lost our weapons in a boating accident, if for those who know that joke, but
Oh,
it's actually a joke. If
okay.
people come for
I'm
it, you
not.
don't got
I
it.
wasn't in on it. I was like, what?
It's a joke to say if they try to compensate it. I lost it in a boating accident, but now do she carry it like I want to? No, but learning that self-defense. I mean, you cannot be everywhere at all times, but if you give her the skills to be able to take care of herself, in order to actually defend herself, then at least you're making the field as close to even as possible. And I learned that from a black gentleman. His name is Rod. He's a correction officer. And he was telling me, like, get your conceal, have your wife learn how to use firearms. You may not like it, I mean, but at least if something happens, you're prepared or stuff like that. So I mean, for a woman not to need a man, I mean, most women now are educated. I think more women graduate more than men, so they can financially take care of themselves in a sense. But if we talk about all the other aspects, from having a child, it takes two to tango. From tax benefits, if you do get married, your taxes get cut in half. I don't know if y'all seen that. I'm sure y'all seen the 17,000 on a black family home compared to a white family 170.
Yep.
What's the number one reason? Two parent household, and and you get benefits for that. So if you actually, even though it's going back to scripture, if you follow the scripture, it actually tells you if you have the right, woman, and if the woman has the right man, you can build the legacy. And your goal is to create something for your children's children instead of just focusing on your own personal needs. So it's being, so, that's kind of my 2 minutes and 2 seconds,
Yeah. I guess it's my turn next.
Yeah.
So to say to not need a man, I feel like I kind of talked about that with the last example. I kind of feel like I put all four into my last statement when we talked about it. But I mean, overall, like Lance said, it really is just thinking about way past yourself. And so I do believe, though, my first thought immediately was just thinking about what's being pushed in the media. For a lot of women, like, we think that it is just, oh, well, if we can make ourselves work for X amount of dollars, like, we're going to be fine. But like he said, there comes a sense of protection too. There's only as much as we possibly can protect ourselves as women, you know what I mean? And like I said, just in the house that I was raised in, it's like my dad was the one that he was the protection. My grandfather was protection. My brother protection. It's just knowing him, and this is still to this day kind of rubs me the wrong way. Just thinking about this comment a gentleman made towards us in the gym in regards to Lance and knowing where he was financially at the time. But the gentleman just said, he was like, well, look at him. Like, he's big, he got muscles. Like, it makes sense while she's with you. And I was like, how disrespectful. Like, that's rude. But I mean, in a sense, I see where he was coming from, but then there's more that meets the eye. Obviously, the gentleman didn't really know him very well, but to see from just the external factor, yes, that is a reason why I would want to be with somebody, like knowing that they at least have the physical attributes that if I could not physically protect myself, God willing, he would be the one that could step in and do something about it. So I think that kind of just needs to balance out in some shape or form. But I see it's really the media that's pushing for women to think that they can handle everything on their own when it's not true. They'll be the first one to say, oh, I don't understand why this happened. Well, it's like, hey, not say it's always us, yeah, but sometimes it could be. Did you put yourself in the right environment or the right circumstances? Sometimes, you got to think a little bit through a brain cell, like I like to say. So that's my take on it.
Okay, yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, if there's no difference between men and women, then you should go to the female boxing, female MMA, female weightlifting, and tell all the ladies. I'm not even going to put the men in the sport. I'm just going to say, tell all the ladies that there's no problems with steroids. Everybody can take steroids because testosterone doesn't do anything different to your body. And it doesn't have any dramatic effects on the body. It doesn't make you stronger, faster, doesn't do any of that. It doesn't make your bones more dense. It just does nothing, right? And so we know that's not true, right?
Right.
And so we say, so if a woman's found out for taking steroids in a physical sport, or even just in track, it's going to be a problem. You're going to say, no, you can't do that. That is cheating because now you have an advantage.
Right.
You know, you're going to be faster than you would normally be without all that testosterone pumping through your body. So, but to go back to a woman needing a man, I mean, I kind of want to talk about the whole, the man saying to y'all, look at him, he's muscular and such. But it's funny because though that is a very superficial thing to say, there's all these studies going on right now, and humans, animals alike, and they notice that females in nature, period, do like, especially in mammals, do like to be with someone who is bigger than them. They call it the bodyguard hypothesis, which just means that she feels safer around somebody who's at least a little bit taller and a little bit stronger. And if she can get somebody a lot taller and a lot stronger, or one or the other, she's going to go for it. And this is why you see women aim for guys who are bigger. Like me and my wife, we joke about it all the time, but she's like, why do really, really short women go for NBA players? What about the women who are really tall? They need the NBA players, right? So, but the reality is that, they just, they do want to, it's perfectly okay for a woman to want to feel safe. And we got to get back to that. And that's why I am fully 1,000% good with women carrying weapons. I'm also good with women learning mixed martial arts, because the world is not always safe. And the reality is a man can't always be next to his wife. This isn't, we aren't hunter-gatherers. We aren't in tribes where everybody is close by. People are literally traveling 20, 30 miles every day apart from one another. And so I do believe women need a second, pair of defense, and a gun does equal the playing field. I would say so myself. So I think women are always going to need men. And I think men are always going to need women. And I think women have and I spoke to my wife about this before, I think women have a higher biological value. And all I mean by that is when you look at what makes a male and a female, it's just sex cells, meaning gametes, meaning sperm and egg. Men make millions upon millions of sperm. Women do not make millions upon millions of eggs, which makes the eggs actually, if anybody's familiar with, just market and money and finances, right? If there's like, they call them, excuse my language, everybody, I'm just going to say the term, they call them shit coins, right? And cryptocurrency, those are the coins that there's like 1 trillion of them. People pump them up, get paid from them, and then dip out. And then you got stuff like Bitcoin, and there's not a lot of them out there. And so one, it could be worth $50,000. And so that's, from a reproductive stance, that's how women stand. But because women are so valuable and they carry the reproductive burden, it makes men so important. Because women, no way around it. If you want to survive beyond your physically, beyond your body and your spirit on earth, you're going to have to make children. Right. And you're going to have to carry them children. Those children are going to be around you. You're going to have to breastfeed them children, possibly, maybe not. Right. And so it's a man's job in nature. I don't care if you believe in God or not. If you just look around, it is a man's job to protect the woman and the children, because they are more vulnerable than him. And therefore they are more valuable, because children are the future and women are the ones who create the future in their bodies and carry them for 9 months. And so women can't get around that. Now, birth control and abortion changed things up a bit. It has. It's changed the dynamic between men and women up a lot, actually. But no matter what, to this day, it's going to go back to being married to a man you're going to be better off than being promiscuous and having children by, I'm not coming at anybody who has children by many fathers. I understand how things can happen. That's why we have this channel.
Right.
But there is going to be a difference between the two women, right? Opposed to the woman who's married to one man and a woman who's had children by many men. And those
Yep.
children are going to have different outcomes
Yep.
than that other family's children.
Mhm.
Speaking as a school teacher in an urban area, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the smartest kid in the class is really the child who's from a nuclear family, who has a bunch of support, who has resources, and the
Mhm.
kid who's doing, or the worst kid in school, go check his house, go check
Yeah.
his mom, check
Yep.
what he's eating during the day,
Yep.
right?
Facts.
And so,
Facts.
there's no way around this stuff,
Yep.
and so most independent women, unfortunately, end up in these very low resourced communities.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like downhill from there.
Yep.
So
All right, yeah. So we need to go to the second round. So
round
we can
two.
fill that up.
All right, let me try to get there. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Since your education, money, and career won't wake up one day and decide to leave you.
Boy, if she paid for her own bills, paid for her own nails, and got all her shit together, she ain't gonna listen, bruh. Straight up, what are you good for?
Mm.
Last but not least, wifed myself since no one else gonna do it.
Wow.
That one is
All
hilarious.
right.
Can you pull it back up for a second?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need the first one again.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, since your education, money, and career won't wake up one day and decide to leave. Read that again. This post sounds like women have kind of given up on men. Like, well, they're just sometimey anyway. What I can accomplish for myself isn't just gonna like leave me, but a guy, he can just decide to leave. So yeah, Monica,
Okay.
what do you think about that?
I mean, I feel like I had no comment on this first one. Like, I honestly, I just really blame. See, I'm getting passionate because I'm hitting my hand. And like, I just have a tough time, like, because I don't watch like TV anymore. I don't even like. We've taken out like cable, really, because I mean, there's no sense of it anymore. But I believe wholeheartedly that it's the media. It's who are the celebrities nowadays that are doing these things, maybe in a relationship and then out. For example, like I do have Instagram. So like, unfortunately I do follow Kylie Jenner, and I do get my news from Facebook, like going through some of the articles and stuff. And, I think just finding out she's pregnant again, I think, or just had a baby again, whatever, but she's with somebody else. And it's just like, okay, you were with so-and-so. And I understand like the celebrity world is a little different and stuff, but it's just like, you're with so-and-so, you had a child with them. Then you're with so-and-so, have another child. And it's like, you have followers, you have people that are looking up to you and watching you. And, thank goodness for our generation, it feels like we have still a little bit of sense left, but it's just like, with the generation, the Gen Zers, we have a lot of mentees that are Gen Z, and, we're talking to them and we're getting an understanding of where's your mindset with most of your peers? And they're like, I don't know, So it's like a lot of just this media right now. You have your TikTok, your Instagram, your Facebooks, your Pinterest, and like all these different platforms. Right. Turn into meta something or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like all these different platforms now that I think you talked about in the beginning. It's just, they have so easy access to things that it's mind-boggling at this point that for women, we just think that, oh, well, a man's going to leave us, or, we can keep everything else. And meanwhile, you're going to be in debt. But anyway, it's just like, we can have all these things and we think that a man is not going to stay around too long and stuff. And like I said, it just goes back to upbringing and childhood. I personally believe in the media. So
Yeah, I mean,
did she say you were next?
Oh,
no?
sorry.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, I was going to combine all three and kind of put them together, but is interesting is the women that's always doing the extra when it comes to stuff. I mean, you never
Yeah,
say
that's true.
men don't need. Well, now if a man say I don't need no girl, you know where they stand.
That's
But
actually a good point, actually.
you know, if you ever watched the Boondocks, you remember homies overhold like
Mhm.
stuff like that against
Yep.
delicious. So
Yep.
but then also too, you know, you have now a lot of how can I put this without making it weird?
You made it weird.
Nah, so because you know how we talk about Adam and Eve, right? Remember now they have an Adam and Eve store. If you
Yep.
know what's
Oh,
in
yeah.
those stores,
Yeah.
I mean, because if a woman want to be taken care of, they don't physically need a man. Now, for the emotional connection, you want to have, you know, the man. But if you talk about just for pleasure, for play, whatever you want to call it, then you really don't need it. But it's going to be a void. It's legitimately destroying the best way to control the society is destroy the family.
Mhm.
You
Mm.
know? So if the one thing that makes, you know, America great compared to different countries is the power of the family. I mean, in other countries, you know, you have to be forced to be married. A lot of women don't have a lot of, you know, rights and stuff like that, but that's their culture, their culture. So, I mean, the fact that we have the freedoms we have here, whether some people don't believe it or not, you know, imagine going out there and I want to date such and such, but you forced to date such and such, you
Yeah.
know. But here it's because we become too what's that word I'm looking for? Entitled. There we go. Coming entitled, like we can do what we want. You know, we took the First Amendment to the next level, and now it's causing a higher risen of single parent households. I mean, what I think 70% just in the Black community is you know, single parent household is raising up in other community. I think in the whites is 55 and other ones is raising. But you know, going back to you being a teacher, there was a story in Baltimore, I guess that's the right way to say it, that a young man it was a single mom and she had 3 kids. This young man GPA was a 0.13 something, and he was in the middle of his class. So, you know, when we look at
Academic wise.
yeah, so he was the middle of the class, but yet we say, oh, let's give money. Oh, let's incentivize bad behavior. Well, my mom, she was a single parent of 1, but she was at my school. She participated in parent teacher. She was always around. She was an A student, so education for her, you know, was everything. But I think, and we was having a conversation with somebody else, and my mom. Now this may sound, it's not crazy. I'm like, you know how they say some people are pro-choice and pro-life, right? You could be pro-life with having a child, but you could be choice of who you actually have the child with. You know, if you're going to sleep with somebody, you know, and you know they ain't S word, or you know, if they ain't
stuff.
nothing, then why would you choose to sleep with this person? But I think even in, you know, where you from, women are told, oh, I want the dog, I can control the dog, you know, I want the bad boy, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you have you know, a good guy, what they say, nice guys finish last, but then again, those are the ones you want because, you know, they're going to actually treat you, you know, with some decency and respect. So, you know, it's I kind of combine all 3, but if, you know, if you love yourself, then you will actually love somebody else. But because you don't love yourself, but you want to over exaggerate showing, oh, I love no, you don't. It's just all for the gram. It's all for the book. It's all for that. So that's my 2 minute, you know, so.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Heem, and what do you think about that? Also, before you go, I wanted to see if you had any thoughts on why do these women feel like men are just gonna leave them? Like, is there something going on with the women that, you know, or is there something going on with the men that's like, okay, why don't you want us? Or, you know, why are you leaving us?
Yeah, I think it's mainly because 50% of women today don't really come from a household with mom and dad.
Yep.
So if I haven't seen it, I don't believe it. Is
Yep.
the way a lot of them are. It's like I've never seen, someone take care of my mother, right? I never seen someone last until they die in a marriage, right? So they're like, I'm not even going to fool myself. Before I even get my hopes up, let me just correct this now, right? Because most of the time, people don't know it, and there's another thing me and my wife talk about a lot, is you have until your child is 7 years old to establish base reality. This is a psychological fact. Base reality for them is established between the ages of 0 in the womb and 7 years old. Once you go beyond 7, it's not that you can't teach them anything new. Obviously you can, but they have a base reality. They have a fundamental way they see the world that is going to be very hard to change. As you all know from starting your own business, there are some fundamental parts in your brain that you got to change. Like, it's like, man, I'm thinking about this wrong. I'm thinking the wrong way, and I need to get out of this way of thinking. So there's a lot of women who feel they don't have the psychological capabilities to even perceive to perceive men as a potential spouse. They believe that men just cannot be that. And I wanted to hit on something that Lance was saying, because I have a very nuanced viewpoint on the freedoms in America. I always say that, like, me and America always had a love-hate relationship since I was a kid, right? I used to, again, when I was in college, it was no nuance to it. It was like straight up, I don't F with America, right? But then I was like, is that true? Because I love my hometown, which is in America. I love New Jersey, which is in America. I love the Lincoln when I went, which is in America. I love to eat pizza. I love to do, okay. So there's obviously, I love America. All right, I said it, right? So, right. And then so I'm like, all right, so then what's my problem with it, right? What's my problem with it? The problems with it are two things. The first thing is, the best thing about America is the worst thing about America, which are the freedoms. It's the best thing about America, and it is by far the worst thing in America, right? So if I go to a country that is ran by Islamic law, right? The downside will be that it doesn't have as many freedoms, but then the upside will be it doesn't have as many freedoms because people are working on one accord towards one belief and one religion. And so they don't have some of the problems that we have here. But on the other hand, right, over here, we do have the freedom to think how we want and do certain things. I'm not saying that people can't do that in Islamic countries, because, right, there's nuance in that conversation as well. But my point is that the freedoms in America, from a social point of view, allowed elitists to control certain things in children. Why? Because children, you had the freedom of thought, expression, religion, and such, right? So when we go off to college, which I didn't know about this until I went to college. I went to college, and my sociology professor said there's no difference between a man and a woman. Now, I'm a freshman. I'm at Lincoln University. I've never heard anything like this. I forgot the guy's name, but this is sociology 101. I'm debating with this guy. I left that day and did a stack of research. I've always been good at it, on the biology and anatomy between men and women and differences. I brought all this to him, and he said, I don't care about any of that. All of that is wrong. My mind is blown. I don't know what he's talking about. I am confused, right? Now, but think about this. I also happen to be a free thinker. So I'm not just going to take what the professor says at face value.
Right.
95% of people, and it's not that they're bad, but 95% of people are going to take what the professor says at face value. So what does that have to do with the freedom of America? Well, they have the freedom to come in to a sociology course and teach nonsense to a bunch of adults or kids. They have the freedom to come up in there and say things that are utterly untrue, that have no base in science, no base in anything, and have the right to reteach an entire generation, which they have successfully done, to the point where you can't speak about things in a certain way. So now those freedoms become something else. What was a freedom is now becoming a restriction, because now this group must be free, so this group cannot be free. And so now we have a contradiction in freedoms, right? And so there's a lot of nuances in this conversation of freedom and what is freedom now. And so I often say to people, America is a free country. So do what you want. I always say that. You an adult. People ask me about gay marriage, trans, all these other topics. I'm like, look, if you are an adult, bruh, do your thing. Do not bother me with your thing, and I will not bother you with mine. Right? But what I tell everybody, though we are in a free country, you need to treat your household like a Muslim country. And what I mean is, you got to listen. Your kids, they're not going to get it at school.
Yeah.
I taught. I'm telling you now. I taught for 7 years. They're not going to get it at school. You got to be Sharia law up in your house. This is the way it is. Not saying that you can't give your kids freedom. Our kids have many freedoms. But in regards to what we believe, there's no movement on that.
Yeah.
Because the children must have structure.
Yep.
All those kids you see out here trying different genders and taking hormones and going here and there and doing all these different things and having sex at 12 years old and all that. Listen, you already know what's going to happen to that. So you already know. It's just the way nature goes out and rules out. So it's our responsibility to make sure, though we are fortunate to live in a country that has all these freedoms, you can just build a business up. That's a blessing, believe it or not.
Yep.
You know, and believe it or not, your ancestors worked for those blessings. So for you to say you don't have them, it's kind of a spit in their face. So we have those freedoms and those blessings, but at the same time, in our household, we got to learn to be way more conservative. Don't let your teacher just teach your child anything. There got to be a base reality at home that they can always come home to and say, all right, normalcy. So that's all I got.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely want to move on to the next round of videos so we can talk about this.
All right.
Fight.
It's something about providing and protecting that makes a man real manly. Yeah, when he come home and he see his woman inside his crib that he provide everything for, it's like his personal empire. Yeah, this is why I do it. This is my motivation, keeps me focused. And then when he go out there and he talk to other men in the world, it helps him scale out where he belong on the manly scale. You know, let him know, yeah, I'm a real one. This is what I do it for. It's how he earn his respect in the world. So as long as the man is providing, taking care of his family, and doing his duties, he got respect in the real world. If that man ain't got nobody to provide for, and he ain't out here protecting nobody, he ain't out here grinding and hustling for nobody but himself, he gonna become lost in the world. He gonna feel like he got no place.
All right, Panda, pick one person for each one until we get to this one up here. The one. For time's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not to go through them. Haim, how do you feel about that video?
Okay, so no, give me the next video. Because I didn't get to tell you how I felt about what he said.
Yeah.
Give me the next
Okay.
video.
Lance, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so Lance will be able to talk on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you that feeling of empowerment. I mean, I remember, this was the story when I was dating the person before I met her, and I'll never forget this. She was sick at the time, went to the store, came back with change, and she wanted to give me the change. I was like, I took that as disrespect.
She said, keep the change, not give me the change. Just
keep the change, same old difference and same. But yeah, and I took that as a personal attack. Well, was it purposeful on her? No, but maybe not. I don't know. But I was used to taking care of, my great grandmother. So do I know where a lot of that stuff came from? I mean, I was in Boy Scouts. I did a little bit of police academy when I was younger, so I learned a lot of stuff when always around men. So a lot of stuff were probably a little bit more subconscious, when it comes to that. But that's definitely true, because a man will only perform for the woman. He ain't gonna perform for himself. I mean, that's just is what it is. So you know, coming home and actually having something that, you know, he owns, that he worked hard for. I mean, it makes sense because a male, like in the animal kingdom, two whatever animals fight for the female. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. You know, a woman has the choice to choose who she wants to marry, and it's the man's
1 second. I gotta go check on the baby. I'll be right back.
okay.
All right,
And
you
it's
just keep going, brother.
yeah, it's good. And this man's responsibility to win her, whether if it's love or whatever you want to call it, but that's really what it is. But if you're not, you know, providing and protecting, because that's the only really two things that we have
Yeah.
on this planet, and the last name, then what are we living for? So
Yep.
you know, that's
Facts. So the next one I'm going to take over for a little bit. I'm going to speak on this one, then I'm going to pass this one to you. So I'm going to speak on this one.
To have a conversation about what it means for a man. We also got to understand that conversations like these are more than just the ends of the spectrum. You got to find a middle ground. Values or mindset. It's not solely about money. Any person who doesn't understand the concept, what they hear is a woman only wants to be with a man for his money. Look up the definition of provide. It says nothing about money. All it really is supply. Supply a woman a lot more than money. It's not about paying all the bills. It's about managing the house. And you can marry up. You can be with a woman who makes more money. You can still have a provider mindset. When a woman says she doesn't want to be with a broke man, she's not just talking about your salary, your hourly wage. She's talking about a broke mindset. But understand this: a man who pays the majority of the bills in his household, he is not a simp. He is a man.
All right. So I wanted to comment on that specifically because I agree with 95% of the video. So obviously the parts I agree on is just, you know, being a provider. You know, you are not a simp for being a provider, obviously. Now that I got past that, what I did not like, I don't like it when, so it is true that a man provides a lot more than income. I'm a big believer in that. I always tell women like, hey, that man can also provide structure for your children, a father, blah, blah, you know, all these other things, right? Now, but I also don't want to give men the easy way out, right? I don't want a guy, because this has happened. I've spoken to somebody online, and we had a debate on Instagram live. We had a nice, proper debate because he said that he wasn't making any money in the house. He wasn't working, and his wife was making all the money. I'm like, all right, bro, that's your life. You know how I am. Like I said, hey, free country, do what you want to do. Right, it's your house. But he said, you know, the fact of the matter is, you know, Africans, this whole thing we're doing today is a white man thing, and Africans, we provided on a spiritual side. We didn't provide anything for resources and monetary and finances. Now, I have a problem with that, A, because it's incorrect. I've taught Black history and African history for 6-7 years straight. That's incorrect. But I'm not going to give a whole history lesson. It's just completely incorrect. It's fabricated. It doesn't even make any sense. But what he was doing, which a lot of men do, is they're trying to make themselves feel better, right? And so they say, well, shoot, I'm providing a lot of other things, though I'm just staying here all day and not doing anything, because he also wasn't cleaning the house nor cooking food. So she's out working all day, you at home, you know, when the kids get home, you know, you do your thing, but what are you doing? And so I don't want to give men easy way out of being like, okay, I'm not providing financially, but I'm providing myself, my spiritual energy, my mentality. I'm teaching her. Oh, that's what he told me. I teach her every day, brother. I teach her about crystals and the sun, and I teach her about, you know, melanin. And I'm like, wow, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's an easy way out. I appreciate that you're teaching her. That's dope. But come on, brother. You're going to have to pull more of your weight than teaching her about crystals. Right. And so I don't really want to give men. I think the world has been a little too, well, actually, I think the world has been hard on men as of late, but I also think in our upbringing in our schools, people have been a little too easy on us. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's right. Everybody like, bro, like I would tell my students, hey, come here. And they would cry. And people think it's so harsh. I'll bring them over with me. I said, come here. I'm like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. You sure? You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. All right, wipe your tears. I gotta tell you something. All right, wipes his tears. I'm like, look, I'm gonna tell you two things about crying. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that men don't cry. That'd be a lie. I said, I'm gonna tell you this though. There are social consequences, right? You're getting of a certain age. There are social consequences for large boys and grown men to cry in public. There are social consequences. You can do it, but understand there are consequences. Two, this is something that nobody's going to tell you but me, because I love you. No one cares about your tears but your mom and your dad. All right. I said, look, you're going to learn it one day. You're 12 years old. I'm telling you now. I'm letting you know now, because you cry all the time and you're giving off the impression that you think that people actually care, and really they want the noise to stop. And it's important for you to know that. Now, some people are like, dag, but I'm like, what's so hard about that? Right? Because he's crying often in front of kids and he's being teased about it. When is somebody going to take him to the side and say, yo, listen, here are the consequences. This is why you don't see a lot of men crying in public areas, because there are social consequences, not only of being teased. Sometimes when you cry in public, it sends a message to the rest of the family, especially if you're the one carrying everybody. And it's not always positive. And so you got to know when and who to cry in front of, you know, and people don't like to say that. And so I often think we've been way too soft on boys. But I'm gonna let you take this one, Monica, right here. So for the audience who cannot see it, modern feminism was a scam for women. Now women work full time and do 80% of the housework and childcare. The government gets to tax women, men and children workers. Houses are unaffordable on a single person's income. Make gender roles work for you. What do you think about that?
I don't even know how to process that.
And then it's back to, then you got it.
Well, I just had one short.
Go ahead.
Why do all of the women like that dress so provocative? In every single video you played, they're very provocative, you know. So that was I was gonna whisper in her ear, but she said she didn't know what to say. So
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say we could just talk about gender roles. Like, what are gender roles? Are they real? Are they made up? Like, should we follow them? What are gender roles?
So this is the what do you call it? False nature. I feel like I fell into with just what I've studied. How one of my professors strongly believed that there is such thing as gender roles, and that we shouldn't fall in line with those gender roles of like the woman is meant to just clean and the woman is meant to take care of the child and the man is supposed to go out and work and do whatever. And I fell into that thought process of like, yeah, that's right. Like it's supposed to be a partnership, and you know that it's supposed to be equal this and equal that. And it kind of the more I didn't tell him this actually, just thinking about it now, but the more I think about it, I'm like, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And don't get me wrong for who's listening, you know, like don't put me at the on the cross and nothing, but it's just but it's just the idea that there are certain things that we are meant to do as women. We've really talked about this a lot tonight, but like we're created to do certain things that just make sense for us to do, you know. And there are certain things that men do with their hands. Like that was one of the things this gentleman he listens to a lot, Kwame Brown. And he's talking about how like men are meant to use their hands. Like that is just, you guys are bred to do that. And that, you know, women, we're not meant to use our hands in all facets. So it's just understanding like it makes sense, but I'm not going to say this is where the therapist side comes in. I'm not going to say that it's meant for everybody to fall under, you know, that umbrella. So if it works for you, like you said, hey, it's America, do it fits for you, you know, but I think just as a whole, you know, I don't believe that there's a wrong in having gender roles, that there needs to be a sense of order, or like you said, that structure too. So that's my piece on that.
Yeah. Him, what do you think about gender roles or?
So again, like Monica just said, look, bro, if it don't fit, right? The shoe don't fit. But actually the same thing goes like for generals. I was reading a book called The Evolution of Desire. It's a very good book. It's on evolutionary psychology. And he wanted to find out if what we have going on here in America is just what we were taught, or is this something that is in us?
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, 98% of the cultures around the world have very similar ideas about what a man should do and a woman should do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're always going to find outliers in
Yeah.
everything that you look at. You're always going to find outliers, but the exception is proof of the rule, right? It proves the rule when you find an exception. You find this one thing out of 100, right? That proves the fact that the 99 is the norm.
Mhm.
But what he found was like hypergamy was a big driver for how things happen in societies. Now, people use hypergamy today as a bad word. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Mhm.
It is the nature of women, which just means that women marry up. Women are looking for not just physically, but women are normally looking for a man that is above them in a financial state, a status state, a height state, a weight state. Doesn't mean that women get this all the time. And the
Mhm.
younger she gets her man, the less likely he's going to be so above, right? And but that's just the reality. And because she's looking for that, it goes back to why. Well, woman, and people get mad at this too. I don't understand why. This has nothing to do with gold digging. Women want a man when he matures to have a certain amount of resources.
Mhm.
And because of these two things, it shapes everything else in culture.
Right.
Men, because women mature so early and men take so much longer to mature, it puts that age gap a bit wider, right?
Mhm.
Because women are often looking for a man that's older.
Mhm.
And so these create these gender roles is what I try to get people to understand. The things in us is what creates it. In other words, if you just leave humans just natural, no school, no TV,
Right.
like Monica was saying, men are going to go use their hands. It only
Yep.
makes sense. Men are going to do the hard labor. It makes sense. It works. That's why we do it. It's not
Right.
because you're brainwashed. It works. Why do why do women have children instead of today where people are putting babies inside of men's stomachs and whatever C-section
Oh God.
is happening today? Right? Because one simply works and the other you literally have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to do. So it's just what practically makes sense. I'm a dog breeder, right? The reason why the male dog, right, is the first to go out and fight is because he's bigger, he's larger, he's stronger. And also, and people don't like to hear this, he's more expendable, meaning if the male dies, right, another male within the pack can take his place and have children and everything can go right on.
Mhm.
If all the female dies, there's a problem,
That's it.
right?
That's
We
it.
have a problem.
I'm used to. We have a
Right?
problem.
If the majority of the females die, we have a serious problem here, right? Because they are not as expendable. So that's
Right.
why if somebody breaks in the house, here's a gender role. Monica's gonna look at Lance. All right.
That's it. Yes.
Right? And here downstairs, though she's trained with a firearm, her natural instinct's gonna be like, yo, you heard that?
Oh, yeah, that's
And I'm
all the
gonna tell
time.
you now, her perception of him is going to change if he's like, you go down there, you got trained in firearms, you're a better
Right.
shooter than me. Go downstairs, check it out. Right? So it's these instincts and they create the gender roles. And so that's all it is. And you're going to find
Yeah.
people out of the norm because some people are out of the norm. Some women cannot have children of no fault of their own. So that
Yeah.
does change things a little bit.
Mhm.
Some women are really, really strong, are born with a male physique
Mhm.
and have a lot of testosterone. So that's going to change some dynamics. Some of her gender
Right.
roles, if she's with the average man and she's stronger than the average man, or if she's
Right.
taller than the average man. That's going to change some things. Or if she's if she's a genius and she's with a guy with an average intelligence, she's going to be leading him in a lot of things. And so, of course, there's exceptions because there's exceptional people.
Right.
But for the most part, right? For the most part, these are the gender roles that, whether you want to say God intended or evolution intended, it makes no difference.
Yeah.
Because they are objective.
Right.
I had a quick question. Sorry, just ask then. With that, do you believe that because 70%, especially like we said, Black people, 70% of Black families are raised in a single parent household with it being majority moms, do you think that also alters the idea for a young man to grow up in that home and that gender role be switched? Whereas, learning how to clean a little bit more or learning how to cook and, kind of really develop that unnatural nurture piece. Do you think that also changes a little bit of that perspective of gender roles as they grow older?
For sure. Because if you're growing, listen, my mom for the majority of the time when my stepfather was the breadwinner. Right. And so only two things can happen from witnessing that. Right. You're either going to do what I did because I also heard my mom's conversation. Now, if I didn't hear my mom's conversations, me and my wife might not work. Which my mom's conversations on the phone was, I wish that he was the breadwinner. Just to sum it up, without telling her all her conversation, right? Was pretty much the consistent once a year I would hear her tells her friends. But let's say I never heard that. Right? Let's say that this was how I was raised. And I thought that my mom liked it.
Yeah.
Right. And let's say that I did not also have my father in my life to tell me his own opinion on what a man should do.
Right.
Well, why wouldn't I, right, just go with how I was raised? You get what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't I just do what I already saw? And especially if I'm not exposed, I might not ever be exposed to a Lance and Monica, a Elohim and Zakia. I might not ever be exposed to those people. I might not even know that's a thing. You'd be surprised how many of these kids literally, other than school, haven't been off their block. That is not just the same. Some of these kids have never been off their street ever outside of going to school. And so, I do think that changes things up. If that's all you see,
Yeah.
that
makes sense.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on to the very last topic.
Okay. Oh, wait, the video. Got this one right here.
Oh, yeah. We do have to play this one.
Okay.
This one,
It's something about providing
Hold up.
and protecting.
Not
that makes
you.
a-
Not you, bro.
Pay the rent, you have to pay for the house, you have to pay for the food.
So I'm not going. Yeah, there we go.
Pay the rent, you have to pay for the house, you have to pay for the food. I don't see myself getting a 9 to 5. I want to be.
Wait.
I want to be with a man who's a provider, who will allow me to be a housewife. I want to be a lady of leisure. Tell me about the birthday gift you told me. I wouldn't buy a man a birthday gift. No. He has me. No, it's not gonna clean. She's not gonna clean. I'm not cleaning, by the way. I'm not cleaning your cookies. She's not cleaning.
Happens now, yeah. God forbid you ever happen to get sick and it can't work.
Then I have to find a new one.
So, she kind of, because I know Lance was bringing up Kevin Samuels a lot, and she kind of is that girl that he talks about of what are you bringing to the table? Like you're saying you want all of this from a guy, but I'm not even gonna buy him a birthday gift. Like he has me. And it's like, is that enough? So, I mean, Monica, what do you think about that?
I think that's like, I think I said it from the beginning, like, just having, making sure you are bringing something to the table. You can't expect that, your looks are going to be the end all be all. We're all going to get all old. We're all going to get wrinkly. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be able to hold children any longer. I mean, that's just biologically how our bodies are made. Eventually there is a timeline. So I feel like there's a way that it sounds really like entitled. Like I don't like it. Like I'm not vibing very well with it, but it's the unfortunate truth that, Heem, I think you talked about some percentages. I don't know if it was exactly this, but just thinking about like there aren't a lot of women out there that are the outliers. Unfortunately, there are so many women that think that way that it's becoming very unhealthy. And then you wonder why. And actually, Kevin Samuels talked about it too. 1 out of 4 Black women are married. And that's a very bad ratio.
Yeah.
Alarming.
Yes, alarming ratio. And, we wonder, why that is, but it's just a pure example there. Like, I don't know if it's exaggerated or not, but, just thinking like she's one of those, one of a type of woman that is multiplying, that thought process is being spewed into our world. And like I said, these Gen Zers and the generations before them, as they're now coming up and understanding how to date and how to understand what relationships potentially look like and things of that nature, if they gravitate to that information and what that woman is saying, they're going to think this is what my future needs to look like. And so that's like, wow. It looked like just too much for me.
Look at what they wearing.
Yeah. And also, yeah. So that's another piece that I know you mentioned it before about the other woman that was promiscuous around the feminism. So I don't know how you were raised, but I'm thinking about like, just for myself, my mom did raise me on respecting self. I grew up, I developed quickly for a young lady. And so where media was showing me, I think the video I think about, I'm probably about to show my age a little bit, but with whatever, Nas and how he, that video, I know I can, or I can actually is the name of the song. Yes, exactly. And there was a part in the video, because I was back in the day when YouTube videos were like a thing, you had 106 Park and everything. But in the part of that video, the girl was like shaking, shaking her rump. And he was like, you don't need to do that, pretty much. And it just reminds me, like, if we didn't have those examples when we were growing up, where would we be? If we had a what's her name? Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, and all these, like, not disrespect, get your money how you get it. But it's like, if we continue to have those type of women make their mark in the world, we can see where the transition is going to start coming from. It just makes sense for generations to start shifting towards that way versus like listening to a Luther Vandross. I was an old school, like R&B type person, the oldies but goodies, it was respecting the woman and understanding what the emotional ties meant and really developing those relationships and stuff. So it's just, you're seeing these shifts, and it's quite alarming. And like you said, it's really protecting your home first, allowing them to understand like this foundation is so important in the home. So then when they are out in school, we're not putting our kids in public school when we have children. No. It's gonna be homeschool for them. But when they do go and have friends, I'm sure friends are gonna be like, oh, come over here and watch this video, that they're gonna be so strong in their foundation that it will not sway them. It will not allow them to drift. There's a wonderful book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And he talks about all of these things that are going on and just talking about that drift that happens. And that's how he gets into our mind and starts to take over these things at a young age. And, adulthood, it's donezo. But
before we move on to the last topic, can I say something real quick, Penda?
Of course.
I'm like,
hey, she's the showrunner. I don't want to, I don't want to get kicked out of the chat.
You want to be on the couch.
Yeah, I want to be on the couch. That's right. But I just wanted to comment on that because me and my wife had many conversations about, our children regards. Like, people think we're crazy about how strict we are with what our children watch. Yep. And I'm fine with being crazy because the world's crazy. So I could be crazy too. But the thing is, I always say what I've learned from teaching kids at school is that kids are going to find a way to get to the material. It is your job to be their first introduction to it.
Yes.
So I always tell people, like, look, if you're going to put your kids in public school, know that these kids are going to talk to them about certain things. Mm-hmm. I know it's uncomfortable. You need to talk to them about it first. Before my daughter ever listens to Nicki Minaj, she's going to have an entire lesson on hip hop and the perversion of hip hop and selling sex within hip hop, right? There's layers to it,
Yep.
right? And understanding what acting is,
Yep.
which a lot of people don't understand. I used to tell people all the time, Nicki Minaj is an actress,
Sure is.
right? That's not who she is,
Mhm.
right? Most rappers, right, are just like the Sopranos cast, right? They're playing a role. We all love to watch it. Wow, isn't this so interesting? It's a role.
Yep.
Some of them are really playing it, and they normally end up dead or in jail.
Yep.
Some of them are really doing that, and they normally end up dead or in jail or in and out of jail their whole entire career.
Mhm.
But most of them are acting. When Nicki Minaj was going around, I don't know if y'all remember, early Nicki Minaj,
Mhm.
she was going around saying that she liked women, right? She was the first female rapper to spit
Yeah.
about getting a woman on a mainstream record. Now, what happened was the LGBT community was coming up around that time and was like, Nicki, you were part of us.
Yeah.
She had to put out a statement saying, hey, actually, I'm not actually bi, I'm not lesbian, I'm just rapping. It's entertainment. I'm like, some backpedaling going on here. And people need to realize these are brands, these are gimmicks. This is entertainment. And sometimes I feel like adults, sometimes I feel like we're still kids watching a movie. Like when kids watch Captain America, like that's Captain America when they see him in real life. Captain America, right? No, Lil Wayne is not actually Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is Dwayne Carter.
Yep.
Lil Wayne is a brand and a role.
Yep.
Dwayne Carter is a father, a businessman, right? Right. So there's a completely different avenue. And before my children are even introduced to people that like Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, Drake, and all that, but by the time they get older, they won't even be caring about that.
Right.
But by the time they get introduced to that, they're going to have our perspective of that first.
Yeah, that's good.
So that when kids go and show them, they already understand what is in front of them.
Yep.
Same thing goes for porn.
Yeah.
All these kids watching porn thinking that's what sex is. That's not sex. Those are two prostitutes who are also actors playing a fictional role that are intended strictly to give you a certain feeling of dopamine when you watch it. That's all that is. It's not real life. But if you watch it as a kid, you think, oh my God, that's how women are supposed to look. That's how men are supposed to look. That's how I'm supposed to act. This is what I'm. So though porn is a hard conversation to have, you better talk to them.
Yeah, it's important.
Before the internet talks to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Oof. Go ahead, because I can't go, but go ahead.
Sounds like stress.
Yeah, and we're gonna go.
Word. All right, last topic of the night. I say this one.
Dwayne Wade.
Oh, I was just talking about this earlier.
In his relationship, I think early on I came in.
Can you turn it up some? Or?
And she didn't respond well to that.
No, it did not.
It was reasons for that too. Let me say that.
I have a good time. Life of the party right here.
It's not the man leads and the woman follows. That's not what we live in this house, at all. So for me, I have a wife that works not just as hard, harder than I. And she had her own career. She had her own life before I came along. So from my perspective, it was like, okay, how can I be a part of the growth and the evolution of who she is, and not trying to change her or stunt her growth or make her in the way that I'm.
All right.
Look. That's canceled. Anyhow, before you even got started. But no,
that's interesting.
I mean, you kind of see the results of that. That's one more I say about that part. But
we ain't trying to get you censored.
Yeah, I mean, but some parts I do agree when it comes to she did have her own life. She did this, that, and the third. You got to think. But I don't know why you don't see Jay-Z and Beyonce doing this.
Yeah,
they actually work together.
That's a good point.
They barely
say it again.
I said that's a good point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean they both by themselves worth the bill.
Yeah.
So in the song he said, "What's better than having one bill with the two?" Right? I think it was in the
444.
Yeah. So I mean, it's because the way we had a great career, he fought for his kids, and I think Gabrielle, she can't have kids.
Yeah.
So I think there's a jealousy to it because I had a debate
Mhm.
with somebody, and you know, now it's my body, my choice, and whatever. And I'm like, I may disagree with certain things, but it's just like because you can't have it, you want somebody else to not be able to have that decision. It's like now with everything, because this person can't have it, you can't have it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm kind of seeing. But even with Will Smith and Jada Pickett, I mean, there's
Oh man.
you can basically go after, when it comes to that. Even me personally, there were individuals who I've dated before and they wanted to be the whole I run this and we ain't together no more. Why? Because I'm a type A, whatever you want to call it. But I just don't like to take no shiz in it, but even we had to, she was strong. I said, okay, you can be strong all by yourself, So, but a lot of men gotta have the balls to basically say that, and a lot of this stuff is beta males that's basically, finally getting them some good box. Let me just be honest. So now it's just fitting into this thing to be like, oh, okay, she may like me if I say X, Y, and Z. Or these group of people are gonna like me. That's why Kwame talks about the go along to get along, rather than just saying, no, I'm going to stand on my principles, my values. Now, he could be saying this on television and not living this way. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact of, or like Oprah and Stedman. Like, there's plenty of people you can use, but
yeah,
that's why, just like you said, with you just have a daughter, right?
Just
three daughters.
Oh, okay. I have a basketball team.
Oh,
yeah. Wait, we said when he has a daughter.
Okay. See, sorry. It's been a crazy week. But anywho, you have 3 boys, you're gonna let them you ain't listen to that dude, or you have listened to him explain it why this don't work, have those conversations to where, no, don't be this person to basically, feel like, the woman has to lead. No, you want to actually, not gonna say control, but you want her to be an asset to you rather than you just being an asset to her. Or if y'all both, like Jay-Z and Beyonce, just compliment each other and keep it like that, because they don't talk about their business, they don't talk about all that, but it's pushing, I believe it's pushing an agenda, to weaken the men, so that when you have a whole bunch of weak men, then people could come in and basically wipe out a community. Look at what happened to the Jews. Look at what happened at old Rome. Rome was powerful, but because of hungry people who were spoiled brats, now it's just like, oh, how can I have control, by overshowing stuff. There's stuff even in the school system. I don't agree with. I ain't gonna get to it because that'll definitely get us canceled, but it's just the fact of, it's just people fitting into the wanting to be cool. This is new cool. These are nerds stepping up, like, oh, I got some fame and this, that, and the third. But when they actually are not, online, because they never saying this stuff face to face.
Yeah.
If you say this stuff face to face, then we're gonna have to step. But because we have online and people could talk smack, Twitter fingers, all this stuff. Now it's just, I can say what I want. I can diminish your character and all this type of stuff. Now people can feel like they say what they want, and they're gonna have the people who agree. But at the end of the day, they're just not happy. They don't have the confidence to handle that responsibility. At the end of the day, all of this is just responsibility. That's all basically, what it is. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
I just
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. So I just want to get back to what you said about like the relationship between men and women and men being afraid. I had a whole thing that people got mad at me about on Instagram. Because I said Black men are trained to be weak husbands.
Mhm.
And like it's so much as a joke now. I remember it was a skit on Key and Peele. It was hilarious. But it's this ongoing thing where Black men, it's like, rule number one, never ever disagree with your wife. Ever, brother. Never, ever. Like it's so weird.
She's always right.
And never disagree with her, brother. Just listen, man. Just keep her happy at all costs, right?
Happy wife, happy life.
Happy life,
And,
right?
which is true, right? If your wife is happy, but the funny thing is that contrary to popular belief, women don't actually want men they could push around everywhere.
Right.
They don't want men they can drag around.
Yep.
Do whatever with, especially if they have a friend who is married to a man who is not like that. Then they start looking at you and comparing you to him. And
What's wrong with you?
Dang, man, you don't got no. And the thing is, the reality is that it is a man's job to provide that structure, right? It is a man's job. It is a man's job. Like I keep reminding people, it is your job, brother. It is. It is not. There's a reason why. That if you look at any going back to mythology, scriptures and such, thinking about gods and goddesses, male angels, female angels, look how they're represented.
Right.
Right. Male gods or God is always creating structure, order, maintaining, creating something that needs to be structured, right? The first thing when to talk about scripture you all familiar with, when God's done creating everything, God was like, you know what, Adam, I need you to run this, keep this thing on point, right? It's the job. So men, you got to step up and you got to provide structure. When you don't provide structure, things happen.
Yep.
Right? Bad things happen. And that's my main message to men is that we got to understand, like Dwayne Wade, I always call it the fall of Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade was my favorite basketball player outside of Michael Jordan. And Gabrielle Union used to be, man, I don't know. It's between her and my old actress crush as a child.
Halle Berry.
I always forget her name. No, you know her name, Pinda. Come on, you know the actress I really love. She played come on, starts with an A.
Give me more.
No, it starts with an A.
Angelina Jolie,
No, Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett.
Oh,
Bassett. Yeah.
Man, as a kid, I had the biggest crush on her.
Yeah.
But Gabrielle Union was number one.
Yeah.
And so when they got together, I was like, oh, that's dope. When I'm older now, I'm like, man, that's dope. And then things start changing. Then you start hearing about Dwayne Wade's son and all this other stuff. And then their interview comes out. And so to wrap it all up, when it comes to Dwayne Wade is Dwayne Wade has chosen to give up control. His wife is in Hollywood. Hollywood has an agenda that they teach to each other first.
Yep.
And the reason why they have the agenda is not because they want world domination. It's because they want to, they care about appearances there. They care about their social hierarchies, and whoever's the most liberal is the best. In Hollywood, it's truly like that. Whoever's the most liberal is the best. Period.
Yep.
And so he adopted that because he was not strong enough to stand up for his own beliefs. He said he got pushed back early in relationships. That's what women are going to do. They're going to test you. Are you worthy to lead me? How do I know? When I object to what you got to say, are you going to explain yourself? Is there any substance behind you telling me what to do? Or are you just being bossy? Do you have a plan? Like, what's going on? Women want to know. They're really prying you. They're testing. Is this an actual man, or is this a facade that I'm standing in front of right now? Once they decide that you're an actual man, women will be like, all right, I'm gonna be the woman.
Right. That's a fact.
No, that's a fact.
That's a fact.
I wonder also, because I think there's like a 9-year age difference or something like that she's older than him. I wonder if that has some kind of factor in, how their, I guess, leader position is in their home too.
Yeah.
Gabrielle Union was looking for somebody she can control, and she found Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the whole situation. Can't have
Yeah.
children, much older. You know, and she changed them from the beginning. I remember he started dressing different. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever, Dwayne Wade, whatever. But you know, she got that. And some women are looking for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is surprising because, like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's because I just removed myself from that side of media and stuff like that as much as possible, but it just feels like it was so quote unquote sudden that this happened. Same thing, like, you know, you saw Dwayne Wade and he was like doing his whole basketball thing, and like I love Gabrielle Union. I mean, even to the point I just literally just said it a couple, what was it, over the weekend or like later last week, where I was just like, man, I was like, Gabrielle, yo, that was my girl. Like, what was her show on BET? Being Mary Jane. That was my show.
I
Okay.
used to watch that show, but it was kind of like,
But
I don't even remember. It
kind of illustrated though really how her life is today, which is kind of creepy in a way.
She always playing the B. I mean,
Yeah, you talk now.
No, I'm just saying she always played the B with Deliver Us from Eve. You know,
Eva,
yeah,
Deliver Us from Eva.
you know. So I mean, she always played
those roles.
Yeah. It wasn't Think Like a Man. It was somebody else. But
yeah, I mean, she definitely, you know, held those roles to her standard, I guess you can say. But it's kind of interesting to see just that shift in how he used to be into where he is today. And, you know, I'm thinking about that last piece, saying like, you know, she did have her own career and stuff like that. And like, that makes sense. Like Lance said, it's like same thing as our situation is just, you know, we did our own thing until we met each other. Right. And then that's where I kind of see that partnership piece in a sense, but then it still is shocking that he somewhat really lost his career. And I mean, she did too, based off of just their beliefs now. But I mean, you kind of still saw her moving forward in her career until they got crazy. But like she was moving forward, and then he really took that back seat, which was really interesting to see. Kind of like reflecting on. So. I know, but usually when people retire, I mean, they still do businesses, have their different endorsements. Like it really seemed as if he like took a serious backseat while she still was acting. She had a book that just came out, like all these different things.
The root of all evil. The love.
I didn't even know all that.
Money is the root of all evil.
I'm telling you, that was my girl. So that's why I kept up with her until it got crazy.
But that goes back to, again, it's too much freedom. And so let me tell everybody now, I believe in freedom, people. But my main point is that, like, certain things, I used to wonder why religion was so important. This was in my mind for a while. Originally, I believed religion was dumb and people should just abandon it. But then I had to look at somebody who's been, since I was a kid, like a spiritual uncle to me, which is Malcolm X, right? I'm like, religion cleaned him up. His father was religious. His father was a Catholic. And he was a Garveyite. He unfortunately died, and Malcolm grew up without a father. And so, you know, he went a little crazy. And then when he got into a religion, he straightened his entire life up. It straightened him up. And so I started doing studies on how religions affect people. And what I tell everybody is, if you don't want to have a religion, that's fine. I mean, you know, me and my wife, we live by a lot of spiritual principles that come out of religions.
Right.
We don't have a per se like direct religion. But at the same time, if you don't, it is very important for you to have something like either a religion or a deep culture, not a country culture, like a deep culture. I'm talking like when the Nigerians come over here, there's a culture. Yeah. Like, even though we all supposed to be African, I know there is a difference between us. We might even look alike, but there is a difference. There is a gap there. And it's really in the culture. They have a deep, they know who they are. They know what they believe. They know what they're here to do. Right. And so I say that to say, Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, right? There's a 9-year gap. She's done all these things before she married him. There was a reason why your parents would find somebody for you, or if you found somebody for yourself, he had to go through your family. Yeah. Right. Seriously, you couldn't just be like, bro, I'm gonna talk to your dad, but I mean, I'm gonna marry you regardless. Like that's the attitude now. Yeah. But at the time, it was like, bro, if your dad says no, what are we gonna do? Yeah. Right. And And so there were certain, and this is what I try to tell everybody about religions and cultures. Whether you're talking about African cultures, European cultures, Asian cultures, whether you're talking about African religions, European religions, like there are deep cultures. And the reason why they have these conservative rule sets is to protect you and to mainly protect women. And so when we look around now, we saw these women without men, 20 kids, this complete chaos. It's because they never had those rules and structures to help them in the world. To be honest with y'all, you know, very few women, I guess like y'all here, luck up and actually find a good man. Women, if you're listening to this, y'all are awful at picking men. I mean, just terrible. I watch women, I watch my sisters, you just don't learn. You just gonna keep picking the same dude. Whoa, this is deep. I'm watching like, wow, this is the same guy, right? Women are really bad at it. Who's good at picking men? Your dad. Good dads, I should say. You're a good dad. Let me say a good dad. Fathers are good at that because a dad know, because he used to be him. He know when the man is ready. He asks him the right questions, and he'll be like, "Nah, he ain't ready. He ain't ready. He's not ready." And he know you don't know, right? And so it's like that's why I say we've gotten so far from traditionalism. Right, whether it be cultural traditionalism or religious traditionalism, that now we think it's enslavement. Going back to that like TikTok where she said that the feminist movement scammed everybody, that's true. The whole feminist movement, there was two good things about the feminist movement. It gave women more rights, which is a good thing. And it educated women about their reproductive bodies. Right, these are two great things, and you can't take away from that. But a lot of the other things, the sexual revolution was by far the worst thing that ever happened to women, because all the sexual revolution said was act more like promiscuous men. That was it. It wasn't just act like men, act like the men who go out and have sex with random people. You want to be like him. He's free.
No, you don't.
But the reality is, and this is the last thing I'll say on it, but the reality is y'all are not the same. When a man and a woman meet as strangers at a bar and have a one-night stand unprotected, the woman has a lot more at stake than the man does. Because if y'all walk away and never see each other again, if she's pregnant, his life doesn't change at all.
No.
Her life changes forever, even if she gets an abortion. Her life changes forever. So y'all, you cannot be the same as the promiscuous men out here who will just sleep with women until they're old and die. You're just not the same. Your body doesn't react the same to it. He's not even doing a good thing. But on top of that, it's a worse outcome for you. So these rules and these regulations from these traditions and religions are built fundamentally to protect women. And this is how we ended up in the predicament we're in right now.
And I one piece to add, if I can, with that. Keem, you said it about one night stands and how women have more at stake. I was just reading a book, not just reading it, but a book maybe a couple weeks ago by Terry Savelle Foy. She is the daughter of, what's his name? Jerry Savelle, who is a very large pastor and whatever. But she was speaking upon when one night stands and women having a lot of sex and stuff like that, being very promiscuous, that what happens is it will become a soul tie. And when you said, yes, they have a lot at stake, if say, she's pregnant or what have you, that it changes her life physically, but it also changes herself internally as well. So they always say like a woman is always emotionally tied to a man and can't let them go. And that a man can kind of jump from one person to the next until they're fully immersed into that one person. It's because of those soul ties. So, I'm just thinking about that perspective too, how that can also shift for the woman. And so many layers. I mean, and that's why they can continue to pick or choose bad men. It's because they had the soul tie connected to one person that they feel like it's going to fill that void for the next one and fill the next one for the next one. So that was a piece she said. I like that when she said soul ties. I was like,
facts.
Yeah.
That one. But anyway, I'm sorry.
No, that was real. I like it. I'm gonna take that. Soul ties.
Yeah. So definitely we are coming to a close. I'm so grateful for y'all coming on today.
Yes.
But I just wanted to, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
this is the last thing that I want to talk about before we get off. Something that we often talk about is customizing your marriage. And of course, we've had these different conversations about all these different things. And I want to see what you guys thought about that because, for the people who have grown up, like you said yourself, where, the women were, more so independent. And, you might have to customize your marriage for that. Like, okay, that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
So what you're doing might be different than, what we're doing because my mom was a housewife, but she did still do her own thing, but she was home. I mean, she had 5 children. So she was home. And then my dad was the breadwinner and all that. So what do you guys think about customizing your marriage? I want to hear from Lance first, Monica, and then you can go, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Customize. I mean, you got to do what makes sense. I mean, time has changed, especially today when it comes to competition in the marketplace. I mean, back then women didn't need to be working due to the value of the dollar, stuff like that. But now because probably with the dollar fell 95% since the early 1900s, it takes 2.5 income to really take care of a home. If you're making, depending on what state you live, $300,000, you can have the traditional marriage and have her stay home, with 2 kids. But I mean, you got to do what makes sense. I mean, if when she was working, I'm gonna say PBS Kids. When you had your first job working in the call center, I told her, I said, go to the management now or something and raise your income. I mean, I was still making less than her, but I have other skills that can supplement what I make on paper. So she's better when it comes to salary wise. Me, corporate America, I'm in it now, but I mean, I do what I can, but it forced me to raise my levels up too. You can grow together, but I mean, you have to, like I say, you have to, but we do it what makes sense just because of where we at when it comes to education, skill sets, stuff like that. So we leverage our talents and we just focus on the things that make us, individuals and work together. So, if we could go traditional, we would, but because somebody has more debt than I do, we have to work together to pay it off because,
we're gonna get there.
So it works faster that way. But, I mean, you just gotta do what makes sense. She may not want to stay home. I'm not gonna force her to stay home if she don't want to. But if she wants to do something part-time or something, that's her choice. Same thing when I was acting the fool when I was younger. What used to get me in trouble a lot is
Don't fall off on a tangent.
I'm not going on a tangent, but this is what got me in trouble when it comes to the dating world. They used to say when a woman is talking to a guy, that's it. When a guy's talking to a woman, it's just talking. We ain't taking it, you're going to have your options. But I used to say, I remember somebody asked me, would you get mad if I told somebody? I'm like, no. But why are you getting mad at me? Because I let you have free choice. And I don't care what you do because you're your own person, But you just got to, really do what makes sense because marriage didn't exist in my household. So how you said how your household, was Zakiya and how, Elohim's household, at least had a male figure in the house. For me, it's different. So marriage was not one of my main focus. So I'm learning as, we in our second year of marriage. So for her, it's different because she has generations. Me, I'm just learning and figuring out, as we, move forward. So.
Yeah, I heard this this couple 3 points. So I heard this gentleman, Patrick Bet-David, he's one of his favorite podcasters, but he was talking about his relationship personally with his wife, and the commitment that they made to each other was, can we just make one more year? So I had to scale that back to looking at that as a perspective in our marriage versus going based off of what I did see growing up. So I did see two parents in my household. I did see my grandparents married, paternal grandparents, my maternal grandparents too, until my mom's mother passed away early, or, my cousin. So I grew up in a lot of marriages, but they were also, like Lance kind of alluded to, is that traditional where, they were able to retire early. My parents, now we're living in this day and age. So no, they're not there yet, but we just had that sense of traditional type of marriages that I thought, we literally just had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, is I thought that our marriage was going to look just like that, but then, like my mom has talked to me about before, is you have to be mindful of when you marry somebody, think about their upbringing, think about their background, and how are you going to put your background with their background and make something new. So I remember there was a conversation he and I had probably the first year we were about to either close to getting married. I think we were engaged, or maybe we just were married for like a month or something. But I remember I said, it's our job to now break this general curse together, because just as he wasn't familiar with marriage in his family, my marriages they looked different. So it's just creating something new for the next generation that we're going to bring along. So I would say customizing it is just very important, is to fit for what is needed for you guys. It's going to change every year. But I say, instead of the thought process of this forever analogy or this forever thought, that is just, can you go another year? Can you commit to another year? Because of the media, because there's pornography, because there's so much access online, it's meant to trigger a relationship. It's meant to trigger a marriage. So it's so important just to have an open line of communication, to be able to have it seems like we're tracking pretty good. If they're having these conversations, I'm pretty proud of us. But it's good just to keep having these conversations with one another that are on the same line, that are not willing to come in and shake up your own relationships, because you'll have people that are married too that are like, oh, well, I want what they have, or I want to just interrupt what they have. I'm like you said earlier, jealousy, so just being mindful, protect your marriage, protect your relationship as much as possible, and keep that open line of communication and make it to fit for you and not what the media says or your parents say it needs to look like. So that's my spiel.
Yeah.
Where
Okay.
there are the general rules of a marriage that are best for everybody to follow, and then there are the individual rules that you got to create on your own.
Yeah.
And it's really just up to couples to figure that out. No one can figure it out for you, because everyone's their own, person. So everyone's generally human. And so humans have general rules to marriage, but then people are also individuals. And so you're going to have your own individualized customization based on what works for you. And, that's just what I want people to understand when they're in marriage, is that you can customize them, and you don't have to tell everybody how you customize it either, because it's not always their business,
It's not their business.
And, so, all right, Kenda.
Yeah, so definitely, I'm glad that we did this. I'm glad that you guys came, and hopefully we can get you guys to come back. Yeah, I mean, this was great. I'd definitely like to do this again with you guys.
Yes, thank you again, both of you, for coming on. This was awesome. Definitely want to have you on again. Maybe one night when we have multiple couples on, and we can really get some conversation going. Have it even more free, just free form. Sometimes on the podcast, it's just going to be like woman's night, where it's just, a bunch of wives on. Sometimes it's going to be a bunch of husbands on. So where we can have different conversations. So hopefully y'all can join us in some of those episodes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate it. Appreciate the time. This is a good conversation. I'll say for myself, I enjoyed it heavily. I love talking about marriage and relationships.
Me too.
Like that's my thing. I love. I want everybody to prosper, have an abundance of love in their relationships. And relationships are not perfect. They're not going to be squeaky clean. They're going to include, bickering, as I like to call them, tiffs. But, it's only going to make you stronger, and you'll find out who you really are at the end. So,
yeah, perfect marriage is boring.
Exactly.
Gotta keep it interesting.
Right.
All right, family. So thank y'all for watching. thank you for tuning in. We had some people come in and out. Whoever came in and out, I don't know who y'all are, but thank you for watching. Definitely subscribe. I'm going to be cutting this up into clips and putting it on my Instagram, my Facebook, on the YouTube channel. So feel free to share them. Feel free to watch them and to learn new things. All right, family, be married. We are signing out. Peace out. Take us home.
Peace.
Bye.